Hi, everyone. Erina McWilliam-Lopez here from 1623 Studios, and I'm joined by Kristina Mensik, Assistant Director of Common Cause, Massachusetts. Kristina, thank you so much for joining us today. And first off, tell us about what Common Cause has been focused on over the past year since the beginning of 2020.
So first, thank you so much for having me on. Common Cause Massachusetts is an advocacy organization focused on democracy reform, and we're a good government watchdog. Since the outbreak of the coronavirus in March, all of our attention has been focused on how to hold safe and participatory elections during a pandemic. We worked over the course of the spring and summer with the State House to pass legislation that brought us expanded vote by mail, expanded early voting, and many other reforms that will help ensure that we don't have the same problems in Massachusetts that we saw in states like Georgia and Wisconsin that held primary elections during the pandemic. Since that legislation was passed, we've turned to voter education and our election protection work. We've been running text banks, phone banks, doing advertising to try and help ensure that voters know their options to cast a counted ballot and how to do so safely. And we run election protection, which includes poll monitoring, roving poll monitoring, and social media monitoring to ensure that we can mitigate those problems that may arise on election day, every election, and also new problems that we expect to arise this year.
And do you see this work with local legislatures? Do you see this as laying the groundwork for future elections?
Absolutely. The bottom line is that when you make voting more accessible, when you reduce barriers to political participation and make voting a little bit easier, more people turn out and make their voice heard, and that makes our democracy stronger. We saw exactly that happen in our September primary. 1.7 million people were able to participate. That was over four times the number of people in 2016. And it was a record set during a pandemic when new barriers to voting were in place. And at a minimum, many people would understandably just be distracted and have other things on their mind. What we've heard from members of the legislature, our advocacy partners, and even the Secretary of Commonwealth and the general public is a clear understanding that these reforms, especially expanded vote by mail, expanded early voting, have to be here to stay. We will certainly make making them permanent next session a priority, in addition to other reforms like same-day registration that ensure all eligible voters have access to the ballot.
So, Kristina, Common Cause has been involved in census-related work, and recently the Supreme Court voted to allow the president to end the census count 1 month early. What kind of impacts do you think that will have?
Thank you for the question. Census data is critical for representation and resources for our communities that need them most. Census data decides exactly how the redistricting process goes. It decides the kind of federal funding that our communities will receive. And a census undercount imperils exactly that for our communities in Massachusetts who need it most. The recent decision to end the census early means two things in particular for Massachusetts. One, it means that it is now more important than before that all of our communities, and especially low propensity voting communities, come out and make their voice heard this November. Every election in Massachusetts is an opportunity to build political power in our low-income communities, communities of color, Black communities, and immigrant communities in the state. This fall, it is now all the more important that those communities know their safe voting options and can build political power at the ballot box. Second, it is now all the more important that we have a public, transparent, and participatory redistricting process in 2021 to help mitigate the effect of a census undercount. I know that the redistricting chair, Senator Brownsberger and Representative Paul Mark, are committed to exactly that. And we look forward to working with them in 2021 to ensure that our redistricting process helps to build political power for those communities who a census undercount would undermine.
Thank you, Kristina. Thank you for joining 1623 Studios. We appreciate the work that you're doing with Common Cause and just informing us on the latest. Thank you.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.